If you're at all interested in stationery, journaling, writing, you may have heard of brands such as Louise Carmen, Paper Republic, or Traveler's Notebook, and if you haven't, basically they make these really beautiful traveler's journals and notebook covers, and I want one. And since I've been on a crafting kick lately, I learned how to make my own. I've already made these two A5 size traveler's journals, and I'm also going to make a pocket size one for myself. I saved a nicer piece of leather for myself. And if you want to learn how to make your own and see how my pocket size one turns out, then just keep on watching this video. I will have every single tool and material that I used in this video linked for you down below in the description, down to like the painter's tape that I used to tape down the template to the leather. Everything will be down below for you, as well as I've written down the instructions in case you want to refer back to them later without having to watch the video over again. I understand that there's an upfront cost to acquire all the tools and materials you may need for this project, but if you want to minimize that and be more cost effective, I also listed the bare minimum things that you'll need, and as we go, I'll let you know what steps are optional and give you alternative options as well. First thing that you're going to want to do for this project is prepare, and you're going to want to do that by printing out the templates that are also linked for you down below. They're free. Thank you to the creators, The Old Pink House and Make Supply. And then you're going to want to assemble it. And in this video, I'm making an A5 sized journal as well as a pocket sized journal. Something that I really recommend doing is having your journal inserts prepared. This way you can use the paper template to test if it would be long enough for your desired amount of journals. For example, I am someone who loves notebooks and journals, so this template actually turned out to be a little bit too short for me. So what I did is I just replaced the right wing with another left wing by printing out an additional left wing and gluing that on the right instead. This way, this just helped extend the length of the template. And the great thing about doing a DIY is that you can completely customize it to your own preferences and specifications. And for the pocket size template, this template turned out to be the perfect length, so I did not have to do any adjustments. So step number 1 is to measure your leather. For this step, you're going to need your templates. I also used painter's tape, or you can use any tape to tape down the template to your leather to prevent it from moving around. You're going to need a carpenter square or a ruler, any straight edge to create a straight line. And a tip that I have for you is to put grip tape on the back of the carpenter square to prevent it from slipping or moving around when you're trying to make a clean straight cut. Then I used a scratch awl, but you could also use a pencil. And then in preparation for the next step, I had my rotary cutter handy and a cutting mat. Use the templates to measure your inserts and the leather now. Determine how large, long, short your cover needs to be. Trace the template with a scratch awl or a pencil. I also want to remember to tell you that this brown piece of leather is vegetable tan leather, and if you want the type of leather that is going to patina and develop character with you over time, look for vegetable tanned leather. Step number 2 is to cut the leather. This is where your rotary cutter and your cutting mat will come in. Double check your measurements before making any cuts. Use your ruler, carpenter square, or whatever straight edge of your choice to cut straight lines. Please remember to put a cutting mat underneath the leather that you're about to cut so that you don't damage any surface that you're working on. If you don't have a rotary cutter, you could also use a utility knife or perhaps a X-Acto knife. However, I do recommend the rotary cutter. Step number 3 will be to punch holes in your leather. The first thing you're going to want to do here is align your template to your freshly cut leather. I went ahead and flipped the pocket size template here so that the spine would be on the left side. A preference customization that I made for this pocket size template was, rather than 6 holes to make a 3-string elastic system, I only wanted 4 to make a 2-string elastic system. So I did that by using transfer paper to trace the holes and transfer them in the position that I wanted them to be. The tools that you're going to need for this step are a 2mm punch tool as well as a maul tool, or you can just use any hammer that you might have nearby. Something that I strongly recommend is to use a 3mm punch tool for the center elastic, because later on it was very difficult to thread 2 sides of the elastic into that one small hole, so I do recommend going with a 3mm for that center hole. Something that you're also going to have to do is make sure there's a cutting board or a mat or something underneath where you're punching the hole, because if not, it will, I promise you, cut through furniture, your floors, or whatever. You need to have a barrier underneath that area where you're punching the hole. In all, the official instructions for this step are going to be to align the templates to the leather and use the leather punch and maul tool to create the holes for the elastic system. Step number 4 is to round or finish your corners, and this step is the first step that is optional. The tools that you're going to need for this step are leather corner cutters. I am using a 2.0 cutter for the A5 size and a 1.0 cutter for the pocket size. If you do not have these tools or don't want to get them, you could also use an X-Acto knife or your rotary cutter. That could be a little bit difficult, but anything that could cut, really. You could probably even use scissors to do this part as well. I am using these leather corner cutters to trim and round the corners for a cleaner look. Step number 5 will be to burnish your edges, and this is another step that is optional. Burnishing my edges is a step that I wanted to take for my journal, because when I was researching Louise Carmen journals, some complaints that came up were frayed edges, and I'm using Tokonol and a wood slicker and a detail brush to complete this step, because what it does is it compresses the leather fibers so they don't fray easy. It gives a cleaner look, a more professional look. It can darken the edges slightly and create a glossy finish, and it just helps the journal age nicer over time by preventing moisture from coming in, so it seemed like a good step to take. Dab edges of the leather with burnishing gum using a detail brush or even your finger, and then use the leather burnishing tool to go back and forth until the edges shine. I'm not gonna lie, this step was absolutely the most tedious step of them all. Step number 6 is to add grommets, and this step is also optional. However, I do strongly recommend it, and I'm using a grommet kit that I got on Amazon, and here I am just showing you that I really recommend practicing this step. Brands like Paper Republic don't add grommets, I think because they use a more durable leather, which is why it works. However, if you don't do this step, there's a higher risk of the holes that you punched widening over time, so I recommend the grommets to prevent that. I also wanted to tell you that in the grommet kits from Amazon, there is a hole punch included if you didn't want to get a separate one. I got a separate one because I heard that the ones that are included in this set are not as sharp. Anyways, here you're going to want to insert the grommets into each punctured hole to reinforce the leather and give the journal a more finished look. Remember to flip the leather over before hammering the grommets in place. Use the grommet setting tool that came with the kit to secure them in place, also using the maul tool as well, making sure each one is pressed tightly and evenly before moving on. Step number 7 is to thread your elastic, and you're going to want to start by choosing the color of your elastic. This is also the step where you'll add charms if you want them. For context, I am using a 1.5mm elastic, and you're going to want to thread your elastic through the holes. Start with the rows/holes that are closest to the center, and then you're going to weave your way to the outermost holes, and then bring the elastic back inside and tie a knot. It's totally normal if the leather buckles in a little. You do want the tension. Trim the excess elastic. Then use a lighter to clean up the frayed ends. Step number 8 is to add your journal inserts. So for this step, you're going to need your journals and your inserts. The pocket-sized journal with the seal on it is from Barnes & Noble, and the 3-pack black journals are from TjMaxx. All you want to do is open your journals to the center and attach your inserts to the elastic system and adjust tension if needed. Here, I just wanted to show you how cute this notebook is and how I love spines like that because they lay flat. Step 9 is to decorate, and of course this step is optional, but it's very fun, so I recommend it. I kind of realized at this point that the charm that I had put on was maybe a little bit too small for the front, so I replaced it with this one by Baumkuchen that says "The journey is the destination," and I feel that it's much more proportional to the size of this pocket journal. Now, this craft folder was an old one from my traveler's notebook that I just went ahead and cut to size to be pocket size, and there was already stickers on it, but I then added stamps. I did ladybug stamps trailing up and on the back, and as well as a bee stamp, and then on the inside I did some flower stamps. And the stickers were already on it, and I also added the sticker that came with my new charm on the back of this folder as well. Yay! So this is how to make a Louise Carmen inspired leather traveler's journal, and this black one is my boy A5 version and how it came out, and then I also made the pocket version for myself. So I hope you made a wonderful, beautiful journal, and let me know how yours came out down below or if you have any questions. That is going to be it for this video today. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you now have some really beautiful traveler's journals. I hope you consider liking, subscribing, and I want to thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will see you in my next video. Bye.